What's going on, everybody? K to the 2 here with PPL Division 1 Season 6. This is Week 6. We are coming in 5-0 at plus 18 on the season. And we are going up against Tone, who is replacing Redithin on the season. He made a couple changes to his team. Nothing too drastic. He dropped like nearly half his team, picked up a few mons. He picked up like Drapion and Gligar and something else, I don't remember. But it didn't really change up the plan of attack that I had going into the week. Like that I've had scratched down on paper for a few weeks now. Basically, the team that I'm bringing is, like, you can see it on the screen and you can look down below. In the description, I will leave a Pokepaste down below. But the idea of the team was, let's bring a lot of bulk, like enough to check his biggest threats against my team, and then find my chance to start setting up with Zygarde, which is going to be Sub, Coil, Dragon Dance, 1000 Arrows. His ground resist was a... Yep. So 1000 Arrows seemed like the best option there. Having the Coil and Sub would allow me to set up on things like Ferrothorn or Drapion, and I can get up a Coil or two and be able to take some Ice Punches from Kang and kill it in time. Tapu Koko, like, I can outspeed it at +2, and that will be fun. Necrozma isn't doing too much to me unless it has HP Ice, which could be a thing that he runs, but he also needs coverage for a lot of my other mons on my team. So I just felt like Zygarde was going to be my best win con this game, and you're going to see how it works. Next up, we have a Zapdos with Thunderbolt and HP Ice, just good neutral coverage against most of his team. I have Defog on it, just so I have something to do against Ferrothorn. And then lastly, I have Roost, of course. Next up is the breaker for the team. It is going to be Alolan Ninetales, and it is going to be a Specs Alolan Ninetales. This thing is actually super good against his team. He doesn't have... like, his Ice Resist was a Greninja, and his Fairy Resist was a Ferrothorn. And besides that, he didn't really have much to switch into Specs Blizzard, because he can't switch in a Greninja to a Specs Blizzard. He didn't bring the Greninja, which is cool. So I can just spam Blizzard the entire game if I feel like it. So yeah, that's Alolan Ninetales. Next up, we have a mixed defensive Audino. It's mostly Spadef with a little bit of defense investment, just so I don't get 2-hit KO'd by, I think, Double Edge from Mega King. I'm running Wish without Protect on this Audino. I wanted to make sure I had Heal Bell, just so Quagsire or Zapdos didn't get Toxic. And Wish is going to be really good to wish into things like the Zygarde if it starts getting low because it doesn't have its own recovery. Things like T-Tar because it doesn't have recovery. Quagsire if it starts getting low. And yeah, that's... I also had Ice Beam in case he wanted to bring Gligar. He didn't bring Gligar, so I kind of wish that I had brought Fire Blast instead for Ferrothorn. Or Knockoff, just in general, would have been really nice. And last move on the Audino is Encore to deter setup. Things like Calm Mind or Sword Stance Necrozma. Things like Calm Mind Koko. Even like Curse Rest Talk Goodra. I can still like keep it from doing a lot of damage. So that's that. Next up we have a Quagsire. Basically just for the Kang, like Earthquake, Scald, Toxic, and Recover. Rocky Helmet, max HP, max defense, as you're going to see it basically every week. So that's going to be Quagsire, like, it's just there for Kang. And if Kang goes down, then I can use it for things like, as I see, the Drapion, or potential setup Necrozma, or even like Ferrothorn without Power Whip, I can use it for. Goodra I can use it for if it doesn't have Power Whip, things like that. And lastly, we have our rocker for the week, which is going to be Mega T-Tar, rocks, and 3 attacks. I basically had this on here. I was up in the air on what I wanted to make my last mod, and I decided on T-Tar because my team was looking a little weak to Koko still, and I threw on max HP, enough speed to outspeed a no speed invested Gligar, which would still outspeed a Goodra as well, and then also I dumped the rest into Spadef and made it adamant just so I can hit hard and also take the hits from Tapu Koko. Like, he might think that T-Tar's in range, but because of the extra Spadef investment that I put in, it'll probably change the ranges in order to just more in my favor, basically, so I don't have to lose to Koko if it is a problem later on. That's basically the team. Let's just go ahead and talk about lead matchup. I just decided, look, there's not a whole lot on his team that's going to want to switch into Zygarde, and I can start firing off 1,000 arrows, or if he wants to show off his switch into Zygarde, like I can scout for things like HP Ice, or I can scout for whatever just by going for sub turn 1. And if he does not feel comfortable leaving whatever's in against the Zygarde, he's probably going hard into Ferrothorn, and I can start setting up. So I felt like that was going to be my plan of attack to start out this game. And we are going to hop right into it. So, we are playing against Tone, of course. And he is going to lead off with his Necrozma. And right here, as I said, I did want to go straight for the substitute in case he was HP Ice. If he was, then I basically only lost 20% health on the turn instead of like over 50. And if he does switch out, then he's going into the Ferrothorn and I can start setting up. So he is actually going to switch out, as I thought he would, into the Ferrothorn. I'm going to set up a sub and I'm going to just start going to town. Who said turn 1 setup is bad? Oh man! So we're going to be in here with the Zygarde, and we're going to coil up just so he can't break our sub with Gyro Ball, and I can basically set up to the moon on this Ferrothorn. Having Dragon Dance on here is really nice as well, just so his if he does plan on breaking his sub and then getting in with Koko, he can't do that any longer. And I can outspeed the Koko, kill it with 1,000 arrows, and it's no longer an issue. So we are going to coil up again. I believe another Gyro Ball should still be able to break our sub, and if not, then I'm going for a Dragon Dance or another coil or whatever. So he's going to go for the Gyro Ball. I'm just going to sub up, as I said, on the potential switch out, or potentially like him going for Power Whip, something like that. It doesn't really matter. It's my it's the play that I'm going to make for sure. So he's going to bring in his Mega King here. I'm going to go for the sub. So right here, I think I end up going for the Dragon Dance, or I just go straight for 1,000 arrows, because it's going to not do, like, Ice Punch. First one's going to break my sub, and the second one's not going to do a whole lot of damage at all. And then at +2 defense, Ice Punch is doing like 50% with both, so I can take 2 of these, and if I go for the Dragon Dance, he can no longer bring in whatever he wants to revenge me. So I can Dragon Dance up, I can 2-KO the Kang before it can 2-KO me, and life's going to be nice and pretty. So we are going to be in here, now set up to +3 attack and +2 defense, +1 speed. And like there's not really much he can do. He needs to have things like potential Scarf Koko in order to revenge me, something like a Scarf Drapion, and even if it is Scarf at +2 defense, it's basically 50-50 whether or not he'd break a sub on my Zygarde with his Ice Fang, because I am +2 defense. And if I can do that, I can get up another Dragon Dance, and I can actually sweep through his team. So, I was kind of expecting his Ferrothorn to be fully Fizz Def, but the way that he brings in his Drapion here, instead of going into Ferrothorn, shows me that it's probably more Spadef, because he didn't have a whole lot for the Alolan Ninetales. And right here, he is going to go for the Ice Fang, and I went for sub, and I outsped him. So, I'm basically thinking, alright, I'm pretty free to just go for the 1,000 arrows and kill off the Drapion. I thought maybe he could have been, Shuka, probably going for a potential knockoff to get rid of leftovers. Or maybe he was sashed and trying to knock off, get rid of my leftovers, or just show Ice Fang so he could keep me low, so nothing else on my team could do anything. So we are just gonna go ahead and stay in here and go for the 1,000 arrows, and it's a fucking speed tie, and he was Scarf Drapion. I lose my sweep because it was a speed tie on an adamant, not fully speed, like the exact same speed investment on his Drapion that I had on my Zygarde. So that's awesome. So I know he's locked into Ice Fang. Okay, first of all, let's talk about the Zygarde versus Drapion thing. First of all, that's kind of BS that he got the speed tie on the turn that mattered. Like, if it was the other way around, it would have been great, of course. But also, going for sub was a potential choke in case he was scarfed, and if he was Jolly, it might not have 2 KO'd me, but I wouldn't have been able to go for sub, and he might have been able to still flinch or freeze or whatever if he was still outspeeding me. And I should have, instead of going for sub because I knew I could take an Ice Fang, I should have gone for a second Dragon Dance. And if I had done that, I could definitely sweep through the rest of his team. He wouldn't have had his Necrozma, and his Necrozma wouldn't have been strong enough to beat the Zygarde. Ferrothorn was Spadef and had Power Whip and Gyro Ball, so it wasn't doing a whole lot of damage when I had +2 defense. And then he also had Coco and whatever else he had on his team. There was the Goodra, which wasn't going to do anything, because looking at the matchup, I felt like it was going to be a more offensive Goodra rather than a defensive one, and even a defensive one isn't taking +4,000 arrows from whatever my spread was. So, yeah, losing the Zygarde there was kind of unfortunate, as one would say. It would be less than ideal. Yeah, I'm sad, because Zygarde could have 6-0 swept just from the start. I wouldn't have had to switch out, wouldn't have had to do anything, and it came down to a speed tie. However, my best play, instead of going for sub, should have been Dragon Dance to eliminate the possibility of him even getting a speed tie. So it kind of sucks that we've lost our win con this early in the game, and we only got to kill his Mega King. And basically, I have to rely on Alola Ninetales to break through his team, and hope basically that my bulk is enough to break through his team. So we are kind of in a very, very bad situation. If I can pull myself out of this, it'll be it'll just be a really nice win if I do end up winning at this point, because he has all the tools that he needs to win, and I need to play pretty much perfectly in order to allow Alola Ninetales a shot at winning this game. So let's go ahead and continue on. I'm going to bring in my Alola Ninetales on the Scarf Drapion that's locked into Ice Fang, so I can take anything. I'm going to go for Blizzard, and it does like 40%, which kind of sucks, because it was at this point where I figured out, hey, I probably could have swept, because I found out that this was a Spadef Ferrothorn rather than Fizdef, so I could have been able to kill it at +4. So I'm going to double it into my Zapdos on the Ferrothorn switch in, as he's going to pull the double into Coco in case I wanted to switch into something to deal with the Ferrothorn. So I'm going to be in here with the Zapdos, and I'm just going to click HP Ice just to gauge a little bit of damage, see how much he does, and he's actually going to score a crit. I would have been able to stay in here and take Thunderbolts for days pretty much, but him getting the crit really sucks, because he could potentially kill me on this following turn, and if I lose Zapdos, then I don't know what I'm going to do. So right here, he's going to go for Hidden Power, and he's actually going to fail to kill, and I'm going to be able to get him off my roost. So, like, that was kind of scary. If he ended up getting off the, like, being something like Calm Mind, that would have been scary, or if he was Z-Move, it would have been probably over at that point. I still had Mega T-Tar in order to come in and take on the Coco, of course, but like this is not looking good because I have to sit in here with Zapdos the entire time against the Coco, and if he gets a crit at any point, I'm basically screwed. The Hail ending makes it so that I can take T-Bolts a little bit better, and he probably realizes this, and he's going to Volt Switch on out as I'm going to Roost back up once again. So we are going to get out of this really scary situation fairly unscathed. So he's going to go into his Drapion, and I'm not really fearing what this Drapion wants to go for. Like, it can knock me off and get rid of my leftovers, but I think that's worth it so I can keep the Rocky Helmet on the Quagsire in case it wants to go for Poison Jab or Ice Fang later on against my team. So he is going to go for the Poison Jab, as I'm just going to go ahead and Thunderbolt, get off really big damage on this Drapion, which is going to be very crucial. It's going to put it in range of 100% dying to a little Ninetales if it even had a chance before. Quagsire can now kill with Earthquake in one shot. T-Tar can probably kill with Ice Punch. So right here, he's going to go for another Poison Jab as I preserve the Zapdos' health a little bit, and I can get off a little bit of Rocky Helmet damage now that I know he's not locked into knockoff. So he's going to go into whatever that is, Shusabora, and I'm just going to go straight for the Earthquake in case he wanted to stay and attack off his Drapion, even though I knew he wasn't really going to do that. But right here I see that the Goodra takes a hell of a lot of damage from the Earthquake, and that kind of shows to me that he's going to be something like Specs or something like that. So he's going to go for Ice Beam, and it does knock us out. So it tells me that he is 100% Specs. At that range, he needed to be Specs because I am a Spadef Zapdos in order to knock us out. But that's going to bring us into a chance to get in with a lone Ninetales and click Blizzard once again. So we are going to do that. So he's going to withdraw into his Coco, and he's going to sack off his Coco, which is kind of good news because it means I don't need to use T-Tar for Coco anymore, and now I can use T-Tar to beat up the rest of his team, which is honestly probably changed up the game a little bit because I can use Mega T-Tar effectively against Drapion, Necrozma, a weakened Ferrothorn, and potentially outspeed Goodra still. And Goodra's not doing a whole lot to me because he's a Spec set rather than something like a Banded set. So right here, he's going to go for the knockoff as I go into my Audino. I felt that Audino was the better play this time just because Quagsire did have the Rocky Helmet and I didn't want him knocking that off. So he's going to go ahead and get out of here with his Drapion, and I'm going to go ahead and get a Wish up in the air in case he wanted to stay in and knock off again. I could potentially take two knockoffs. I don't have Protect, so it was kind of dangerous. But I am going to choose to pass off this Wish somewhere. I believe. I think I do. So I'm going to... No, I'm actually just going to stay in here, be content with getting off Ice Beam damage. I know that Ferrothorn isn't doing a whole lot to me. And at this point, he hasn't revealed Leech Seed, and I don't think he has Leech Seed. So him not having any recovery on the Ferrothorn really hinders him, and I can continue to chip this thing down and put it into range of something like Crunch for Mega T-Tar, which it needs to be around 25, 33, 35, at most 40% in order for me to do that. He probably realizes that, so I'm just going to go for another Wish here. Or, no, I went for Encore because he had just gone for Rocks. I forgot that. It's been a while since I've seen this battle. So I'm just going to go ahead, stay in here with Audino. He's going to Fire Blast. I'm going to get a Wish up and get in with my Mega T-Tar because I know he's locked into Fire Blast at this point, and if he wants to stay and go for another one, he's in a bad position. And if he wants to switch out, go into something else, he's probably still losing something. So I'm going to get in with the T-Tar, and I'm going to get up the Sandstream. He's going to go for another Fire Blast. If he gets a burn, that would really suck, but as you're going to see, no burn. So that's really good. We're going to go right back up to absolute full health on Mega T-Tar. I am Spadef. I can take whatever the Goodra wants to go for, and I'm just going to fire off an Ice Punch. Ice Punch plus Crunch would be enough to knock out the Ferrothorn here. and Ice Punch would have been able to knock out the Goodra. So I'm just going to stay in here, go for Ice Punch, and I'm going to go for Crunch on the following turn. I don't really care about taking Iron Barb's damage because I do have Wish that I can potentially go for with Audino later on. And I can heal up the T-Tar once again. Or, like, I can just stay out of range of whatever hit he wants to go for. Like, Earthquake isn't doing enough. Anything from, like, Earthquake from Drapion isn't doing enough. Anything from Goodra isn't doing enough. And, Necrozma needs to have, like, Z Brick Break, but it's not his Z mover. So he needs to get in with, Necrozma, set up a Sword Stance, and then go for the Brick Break in order to do anything with his Necrozma against the T-Tar, which I feel pretty comfortable against at least. So right here, he's going to go into his Drapion, as I'm just going to go hard into Quagsire. I'm not really afraid of losing Quagsire at this point. He's just going to go for the Earthquake, and I could recover up, but at this point it's not super worth it in order to recover up, because I can keep Quagsire healthy enough for the Necrozma. Goodra can come in and drop a Draco on something, but then he's probably losing something to, oh no, Goodra, I just killed Goodra. What am I talking about? T-Tar just killed Goodra a couple turns ago. So he doesn't have Goodra anymore. He's just down to Ferrothorn and Necrozma. And right here, I probably should have saved Quagsire, but I decided I wanted to make sure that the Ferrothorn was in range to die to whatever. Nope, I just go for Recover. I wanted to see if he had Power Whip, or potentially Leaf Seed. So he is going to go for the Power Whip, and that's right. Staying in and him going for Power Whip was still going to put him in range 100% of Mega T-Tar. Mega T-Tar Crunch, because of the Rocky Helmet, instead of me going for EQ. So instead of going into T-Tar at this point, I am going to go into Alola Ninetales, because there's nothing that the Necrozma can do at this point to 2KO, or to OHKO the Alola Ninetales, unless it's running Smart Strike, which I don't think it's going to run Smart Strike. So I'm just going to go for Blizzard. I can 2KO the Necrozma guaranteed, and then T-Tar can end up cleaning up the game. He's going to have to get up a Sword Stance in order to win, and he's not going to be able to get off enough damage at that point in order to kill both Alola Ninetales and Audino and Mega T-Tar. So that's basically going to be the game. It was really close because of the speed tie early on. I should have clicked Dragon Dance. If I did, it was over, and Zygarde would be sitting on top of the MVP race at 13-0 on the season. But instead, it comes out of the game 1-1, and Alola Ninetales comes out the hero, going 3-0. So that's another good win for us. We are sitting at 6-0 at plus 21 on the season. So you can come back screen, please. Right there. Perfect. Okay. So that's pretty much it. Not really much else to say. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like or a comment or anything but down below. I don't care. And we will see you next week when we take on Trev and his Houston Toxapexons. And we have a pretty good history going with Trev. Really good games every single time that we play. And I'm really excited to play him once again. If I can beat him, I can be 7-0 heading into our match against Jack, who at this point is the other one. Me and him are both vying for a potential undefeated season at this point. So that's something that we should all be looking forward to, hopefully, if I beat Trev. So, yeah. So that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.